Serious doctors of Reddit, how did it feel seeing a patient die for the first time? Looked very peaceful, especially in comparison to what we put people through when they are in intensive care and we are hell-bent on not letting them die today. My mum is an IQ nurse and has been for 30 years. I've been on the phone many times with her crying after a shift or because she just needed to talk to me. She's the strongest woman I know. I don't know how she does it day in, day out. I don't know how anyone does it day in, day out, but I'm glad they do. Please tell your mum she's amazing. My brother was in ICU for over 6 months a few years ago, and it was the nurses who kept us together as a family. They looked after us, made sure we ate and slept, and made sure my brother was looked after and settled when we weren't able to be there. They watched us interact with him, discovered the little things he liked and spent ages talking to him about his interests. They cheered when he ate his Christmas dinner, cried when he had to be moved to the serious regional ICU, and where he lived to hear that he's now doing wonderfully well. Tell her thank you. Not technically my patient, but still my patient. Checked for a routine fetal heart rate at a 32W apt. My first solo. No proper doc in the room at FHR 124 10 seconds. Then suddenly 70. The parent heard everything and all I could say was that I might be getting her heart rate and not baby. I would be back in a second with a different Doppler, and I grabbed my clinical preceptor. I was gone less than 15 seconds. I literally stepped out the door and my preceptor was right there. Back in the room the FHR was 30, then nothing. We had her go immediately to ultrasound, but we knew. She knew. There was nothing we could do. Because it was a clinical rotation, I never found out what actually happened to stop that baby's heart. I just know I never want to watch a parent go through that again. My worst fear, this hit home for me. MD here. Surgery rotation in 4th year med. I was kicked out of my bunk since we had a referral for putting in a central venous cath into a lady who had a real bad case of lupus. Blood pressure was in the pits, hence the need for this invasive monitoring. Well, the residents on duty get the line in. I'm hanging around after to see that all is well, but before I turn to point go, her vitals just crash. It was mayhem. We were all on our first rotations. I didn't have to be there since I wasn't on the crash team, but I grabbed gloves and got to work with chest compressions. And I knew, as soon as it was my turn to take over CPR, that she was a goner. You just know. You feel the life slip out. The worst part was telling this woman's husband. It's been 5 years, and in my nightmares I still hear him crying and screaming for his wife. It was 2 or 3 in the morning. I was an undergrad shadowing a 12-hour overnight in the addition. Call comes in that they had a 20-something who seemed to have overdosed at the casino, and that he was intubated and compressions were being done en route. I wasn't allowed to do anything but watch at the time, and they probably coded him for a solid hour. The exhaustion, combined with the reality of what I was seeing, left me in a haze. I distinctly remember how his skin looked. Like in the movies they always show people turning blue, but he was extremely pale with almost a yellowish tint. After they called the code and pronounced him dead, I must have looked pretty shaken, because my attending lead me to the small doctor's office, told me to take my time and to find him when I was ready to see patients. I sat down and cried for about 5 minutes before gaining my composure and rejoining him. A little 7-year-old boy named Steven died after his dad's girlfriend stomped on him. I tried to CPR the little buddy, but he died on the way. I brought him a teddy bear and flowers at the hospital. R.I.P. Stephen Michael Yates 2 11 00 6 24 07. He was my nephew. Honestly, the style of death and sympathy for that kind of way to go has a powerful swing, but the fact that an adult, 12 years later, remembers the date of both of his birthday and a much worse day is honestly chilling. It feels like he could have been yours, or close to you, eerily local, or just a powerful, devastating memory of a truly awful thing. My deepest condolences. One of these days I swear I'll remember my own mother's birthday, hopefully before it means nothing. First, comfort care. A big relief. Of course family was sad, but the patient wasn't suffering anymore. First, code death. I felt like a failure. We coded this person for 45 minutes. As soon as it was called, family was accusing us of killing their loved one. They were threatening people with violence. I just did X amount of compressions. I'm exhausted. My adrenaline was up. I just wanted to hide. Went home and cried about it. I'm a therapist in a skilled nursing facility. Didn't get to start compressions cause our nurses got to the room so fast. All I ended up being able to do was to hold the crying grandchildren he had been talking to moments before and take them out of the room. Very peaceful. It was an old lady, maybe 93 or something. Practically no hospital contacts in the records. Came in unconscious and drew her last breath with her daughter holding her hand. Some kind of cerebral catastrophe. I'm a doctor but, seriously, I don't actually feel anything. Until I saw my best friend in high school dying in front of me. I never knew it was him until I saw the records. It hurt me real bad. It felt like a really big thing. I felt the need to check up on her in the doorway with a heart full of wonderful emotions and a benevolent gaze. But for experienced doctors, it's just part of the job. That is some guilt I could not understand.